Good morning, church. Thank you for joining with us again today. And I mean that. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for letting us know that we're still a church, even if we can't meet. When I see how many people watch these videos, it's not a source of pride or anything like that. It's a source of comfort, knowing that what God is speaking to us is being heard. And so thank you. Thank you for supporting our church. And we are about to reopen. I believe. I mean, it's more than just belief. We know the government has told us they'll be looking at rezoning Montreal, and which involves our church in the coming month. We don't have an exact date yet, but I believe it will be soon, and that's my belief. And so I look forward to finishing this series with you in person. If you're new, we've been doing a series called Meaningful Relationships. We believe that God wants us to have meaningful relationships. And that means reaching people, touching people, impacting people, making a difference in the lives of the people around us, inside of church and outside of church, in our daily lives, in our homes, in our jobs, everywhere, making us citizens of heaven that are good citizens here on earth. And that's the goal. We want to understand specifically the Sermon on the Mount. We want to understand Jesus's teachings. We want to know what they mean to us today as much as what they meant to the people that heard him 2,000 years ago. And so that's my heart, to uncover and to understand and to teach. And so this morning we're going to continue with a very well-known verse. Let's read it together. Matthew 7, verse 12. In everything, treat others as you would want them to treat you, for this fulfills the law and the prophets. I mean, this is known by everybody. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. This is in movies and TV shows. I mean, even the secular world knows this teaching. It's called the Golden Rule. The more verbose call it the Maxim for Reciprocity. Back in 1993, there was a World Council of Religions, and faith leaders from all over the world decided that this idea would be at the foundation of a global ethic. Now, I'll be honest with you, I didn't research whatever happened with that, but I was just stunned that all these different faiths, all these people from different backgrounds came to the conclusion that this idea best encapsulated an ethic for all humanity. This idea was the best phrasing of what all humankind could rally around. And here it is, a teaching of Jesus Christ. And so let's understand this. It's simple on the surface, but there is a greater context. And so let's just jump back a couple of verses to Matthew 7, verse 7, to see how Jesus is fitting this teaching in his Sermon on the Mount. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be open for you. For everyone who asks receives, and the one who seeks finds, and to the one who knocks the door will be opened. Is there anyone among you who, if his son asks for bread, will give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, will give him a snake? If you then, although you are evil, if you then, although you are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good gifts to those who ask him? In everything, treat others as you would want them to treat you, for this fulfills the law and the prophets. These verses have been misused by the modern day church. These verses have been turned into a name it and claim it, a prosperity gospel. If you ask, just in the right way, you'll get whatever you want. And is that really what Jesus is teaching here? And is this really a passage on prayer? Just back in Matthew 6, one chapter earlier, Jesus teaches them how to pray. So I don't believe he's teaching them here in chapter 7 how to pray. I don't believe these verses actually have to do with prayer. I know one of the verses says, if you ask the Father, he will give you. So that certainly sounds like prayer. But I don't think it's just, hey guys, if you pray this way, you'll get whatever you want. And so what is going on here? Well, first of all, the golden rule is not a new teaching by Jesus. He's actually quoting Leviticus 19. And Leviticus 19 is an amazing chapter. I mean, there is so much in there. There are laws about planting seeds. There are laws about paying wages. There are laws about what you can eat. There are sexual laws. I mean, there are laws about really every aspect of life. And right in the middle, Jesus says, love your neighbor as yourself, which we know elsewhere in the Gospels, Jesus said is the second greatest commandment. And so this golden rule is a reiteration. It's sort of him taking that idea and just using different words to say it. And so he's teaching his listeners here that this idea of asking God isn't so much about praying for yourself. It's asking God how to treat others. And it's a beautiful idea. It's a beautiful notion of our meaningful relationship with our Father. And Leviticus 19 verse 2 says, be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy. And that verse sounds scary, doesn't it? God saying, hey, I want you to be holy because I'm holy. But think about it. Take away our notions of inadequacy, take away our notions of fear. And what is this? This is God saying, hey, I want you to be like me. See, this is the way I am. This is my nature. And I want you to have a nature like me. You see, God does to others what he wants others to do to him. Now, that might make some of us uncomfortable. It might sound like I'm putting God on an even playing field with us. It might sound like I'm making God like us, but that's not it at all. See, the golden rule, the law, the second greatest commandment, it's not a law that God lives by. It's his nature. It's the way he is. He gives to others. He provides blessing to us because that's what he likes to do. That's who he is. And here Jesus is teaching his apostles. He's teaching the crowds how to have true righteousness. We established weeks ago that he's teaching them how to have their righteousness surpass the righteousness, exceed the righteousness of the Pharisees. And we know that the Pharisees' righteousness was hypocritical. They were playing a role. It wasn't who they really were. And here he's putting this all together. This is where, it all comes into focus. And he says, this is how I want your righteousness to be. I want you to be holy, just like our Father in heaven is holy. I want you to have the nature that he has. I want it to be in you. And how does God want to be treated? Like, how can I say that as a pastor? How can I teach that we can do things to God? Well, Jesus did. In Matthew 25, he talks about Judgment Day. And he talks about the fact that God will separate people. And he'll take one group of people and he'll say, thank you for feeding me when I was hungry. Thank you for clothing me when I was naked. Thank you for taking care of me when I was sick. And it describes that the people will say, well, when did we do that? And in verse 40, Jesus says, I tell you the truth, just as you did it for one of the least of these brothers or sisters of mine, you did it for me. You did it to me. You did it for me. And you see, God treats us the way he wants to be treated. And so how does he want to be treated? He wants us to take care of the people around us. At the end of the golden rule, what did Jesus say? He said, by doing this, if you do this to others, then you fulfill all righteousness. And if you didn't watch our sermon on being fulfilled, go back and watch it. There we taught how fulfilling is not bringing to an end. Fulfilling is providing the resources to do something. And so as we treat others the way we want to be treated, it's beautiful. We're providing resources to people to be able to be righteous themselves. People that don't have the resources to do it. And so now back to all those verses that looked like they were about prayer. Ask and it will be given, knock and it will be open, seek and you'll find. That's not prayer. That's God's economy. That's God's economy for salvation. If we will ask, if we will seek, if we will knock, his economy is that others will provide. And yes, it's him who gives us the good gifts, but he wants us to provide. He wants us to be those people that open the doors, that provide, that answer. And so this is a call to action. The golden rule is a call to action. It's not a call to self-correction. For centuries, this teaching, do unto others, was actually taught in the negative. And what I mean by that, it was don't do to somebody else what you don't want them to do to you. And that teaching took over. And that's the error. Because if I just go through life saying, well, I won't do this to this person because I don't want them to do it to me, I'm not actually connecting with anybody. I'm just creating my own personal holiness shrine. I'm just taking care of myself. But it was never meant to be in the negative. Jesus is reapplying Leviticus 19. Leviticus 19 said, love your neighbor as yourself, love them. And here Jesus says, treat others. It's a call to action. He's calling us to go out and fulfill righteousness. He's calling us to go out and provide what people need to live righteous lives. And that's why this is the key verse of the Sermon on the Mount. That's why this is the golden rule. That's why all faiths can agree on the benefit of living this way. Because it's truth. It's God's truth. It's God's heart. It's the way God is. That's how God has always been. That's how he was with Adam. That's how he was with the Israelites. That's how he was with King David. That's how he was with his own son. And that's how he is with us today. He gives to us. He opens. He gives us answers. And he expects us to do the same. He wants us to be his ambassadors, as we said last week. He wants us to be the people that represent him. And so when I'm told to treat others as I want to be treated, it's not just a philosophical, ideological position that I take. It's activity. It's strategy. It's effort. It's time. It's what I plan out to do. It's what I purpose in my life to do. It's the nature that I demand of myself. It's how I discipline myself. It's how I engage myself. It's how I guide my days. If I want to have true righteousness, if I want to have meaningful relationships, this is a beautiful economy. As I've already said, it's God's economy. It's God's way of providing. It's God's way of giving. It's not about saying a prayer with magic words. It's about people, about being people who are engaged in doing God's work, in being part of bringing his kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. So I bless you. I love you. And I hope that this word finds fertile soil to produce lots and lots of fruit. The future is bright. God is doing some amazing things with us, with those who will hear his word and obey it. God bless you.